All right. All right. So, how's it going, everyone? Mufari here. Welcome to Heliopolis Radio. We're back at it again, and we have a very special guest with us today, Sam Mitchell. Sam is quite an established individual, and so first and foremost, he's off the autism spectrum, but what he's done with himself and his life is quite amazing, more than most average people out there. So, Sam, I don't know if you'd just like to start by introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, we can do that, brother.
All right.
So, hello, everyone. My name is Sam Mitchell, and I do run a podcast called Autism Rocks and Rolls, and it is about autism and how we cope with daily struggles that you may or may not understand. I ran it since October 2019. I'm nearly 13K downloads, I believe, and I've had big guests on the show, such as Temple Grandin and Mick Foley, along with many other amazing guests. I now have a nonprofit because it's grown so much with sponsors, and because of the nonprofit, I get to have a board of 5, be a vendor for certain places, and get to be a motivational speaker, which I've spoken in Orlando, Florida, Oklahoma, Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, Canada, actually, where you were from, according to you.
Wow,
Not where you're
nice.
from, where you were.
Where I was.
Yeah. And got to speak in schools.
No, man, that's incredible. And you said you've had some notable guests on your show. Who's your favorite guest that you've had, if I could ask?
Oh, you can ask that. Well, there's a lot of favorites, but Mick Foley, well, let's just put it this way. Mick Foley for personal reasons, obviously, but Temple for the autism and the business reasons, because she's probably the most autistic advocate out there. She's spoken in Canada before as well, so.
Wow. Okay. I mean, yeah, Mick Foley. I remember growing up, I used to love WWE, and he was one of my favorite wrestlers. I used to love. I think he had one match with The Rock, which was one of like the greatest matches in wrestling I've ever seen. I think it was still when they had a lot of the OGs, if you'd call them that. And so I just wanted to move into, so as a motivational speaker, just maybe talk a little bit about how that experience has gone. Just talking to people, getting them motivated.
Well,
how's
I would
it
say
been?
it's definitely growing.
Yeah.
It's definitely slow, but 100% growing. And it's very different from me. I mean, it depends on where it is. I like to mix it up. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a show that no matter what you are, you're going to be successful, because that's what it does. The podcast has kind of shifted the mission. It was from just destigmatizing autism to now being, okay, we want to show the success of all, regardless of your condition, and being a kind human being, regardless of who you are.
Wow. I mean, it's incredible. And you've actually had a TED Talk. I checked out some of the YouTube videos that you had, and they're incredible, man. And I just wanted to ask how that experience was, giving a TED Talk. It's quite a special achievement to do that, actually.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely a great one. I think we got to do it due to being it virtual. I think I got nominated a couple times from a couple of friends or a couple of acquaintances, I would say.
Nice. Yeah.
But it was definitely a fun experience, and I would definitely do it 100% again. If you case want to know what about and what the listeners want to know about, it's about structure and why those on the spectrum need structure. And I kind of shifted it because a while back ago I did an episode on pinball. So I thought maybe we could expand on that episode a little more. And it turns out it worked.
Wow.
Definitely tons of positive feedback and great constructive criticism.
And just for the listeners that do tune in, you do have merchandise that you actually sell. And I'm not obviously not trying to use the platform just to sell, but I think it'd be nice if you just share. I mean, maybe who knows who'd be interested in buying something from you.
Okay. We probably should get into that. So the merchandise has been kind of difficult with us lately because the platform, the e-commerce websites are not working for us. We tried Teespring and Teespring and Etsy, which I would not recommend.
Yeah, Etsy's a difficult one.
Looks at it, but we got someone else now, and she probably won't mind giving me. She probably won't mind giving me. She probably won't mind shouting out her name, but Ariel is her name, and she has an e-commerce website. It's now called arielthingamabobs.com or something like that, Shopify.com maybe, where there's now merchandise, there's tumblers, stickers, earrings, I think, and we also have shirts. I mean, we have a shirt. We have a green shirt with our brand, but here and there, I also like to do a limited edition So we have a limited edition coming up in January next
Okay,
year.
wow. No, I think with all things, everything comes in due time, right? So I'm looking forward to when you get the ball fully rolling, and I trust it'll work out for you. Eh? And I just wanted to go, and I hope you wouldn't mind, but I mean, I was just seeing some of your achievements here. I was actually mind blown. You placed in the top 10 in the People's Choice Awards podcast, which is a phenomenal achievement. I just want to congratulate you on that one. You also placed second in the state of, no problem. You also placed second in the state of Indiana for the JAG Entrepreneurship Project. You're also in the top 200 podcasts in the whole of Canada, which is, that is even for anyone else to just even try achieve that. That's very difficult. So the fact that you've done it, man, really, you have my utmost respect and admiration for doing so.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, all of them happen kind of in different stories. I mean, the first and the last one you said kind of happened, I didn't know about really until my mother told me, like, hey, Sam, you're on this. I'm like, oh, okay. And it was pretty cool. I didn't say, oh, that sucks or whatever, but I was like, woohoo. However, the JAG kind of happened through a lot of trial and error. So a fun fact about me is I'm part of a JAG program. It stands for Job for American Graduates.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically a class where they teach you job skills. And so it helps a lot for those on the spectrum with disabilities, with those who have troubled home lives, who haven't learned the right skills really, and maybe those who want to not go to work because something else we believe in ARs. College is not for everybody.
No, it definitely isn't. I mean, personally, myself, I struggled with ADHD, and I mean, I think you're right. These things shouldn't be excuses for you not to put in the necessary work to get to where you want to, right? And so the fact that
I have an example perfectly. My dad, who shall remain nameless, but he did not go to college. He went to trade school. And now he's doing fine. He makes great money. He doesn't love his job. He probably doesn't love his job every day, but he's an electrician and makes great money.
No, in Canada, trades is actually one of the highest paying jobs. It's actually better than things like accounting and everything like that. So no, it's just, I think once you figure out what works for you and you work hard at it, it can do stuff for you in a good way, I think. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to ask, autism obviously is very difficult to deal with. A lot of the environment plays a huge factor in just kind of how, certain things like triggers and all sorts of things like that. So I was just wondering what methods you developed to dealing, with autism what practical things that you do. Yeah.
To be honest with you, it's a broad question. So it depends on what you're saying.
Yes.
And this is for those on the spectrum too, but a lot of times you got to be very specific with me.
Yeah.
So I can get into what I can do to help you out more.
Yes.
Get into some problems and tell you how I cope with it. So one of the issues I have is I'm very foot and mouth syndrome, as I call it, where I don't have no filter and can't keep my mouth shut. If that makes any sense, where I basically say something and it's like I can't take it back.
Yeah.
I fish it in, then I can't reel it back in.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, shoot. So basically, the best way to handle that is, I would say, what I have to do really, and it gets me in trouble, but I'm willing is to take the consequence, is speak. They always say think before you speak, but for me, I flip it. I speak before I think.
Okay, that's actually interesting. That's pretty cool. And I'm sure the fact that you take ownership for what you say, most people, I think that's a skill that everyone on like this planet could learn, is just to take ownership for what you say and to be true to your words. Because you probably notice a lot of people sometimes don't say what's on their mind, and it's kind of weird because you're lying, like you said, and it's hard to have that honesty.
I don't do that. I'll tell you what you want to hear. I'll tell you what you want. I'll tell you what you may not want to hear. I always joke around. I have a friend who shall remain nameless, but sometimes he doesn't tell others what he wants. He tells them what they want to hear. I'm on the opposite end, where I'll tell you what you want to hear, but also what you don't want to hear.
No, it's true.
Because I'm just trying to help you and be truthful with you.
Yeah, no, it's weird. In the whole podcasting world, everything you always kind of forced to say what people want to hear, because it's, when you're having a conversation with people, it's difficult to kind of just go in full on into it. But yeah, I was just going to ask, do you have any ideas or, any recommendations that you would like to see in the world that would accommodate people on the spectrum, like any ways that you can facilitate them into workspaces, into kind of, a much more, because what I've actually noticed, they're quite, people with the autism spectrum, they have a profound amount of attention to detail, creativity. And I know there's a famous architect in the world who's on the autism spectrum. He's from Europe, I believe. And his designs are phenomenal. And I actually while I was in Canada, I met another girl on the spectrum, and she's a storyteller. I think her book might be turned into a movie soon, fingers crossed. But I've noticed
if that movie comes out, let me know. I'll check it out.
No, she was a fun. I mean, really, her storytelling was incredible. So I was just wondering if you have any things that you would like to see in society today to help people on the spectrum, navigate more fluidly in our society.
Give us opportunities and jobs. That's the honest, straight answer, because according to Temple Grant, and this is a fun fact for you too, something you can take from this, but there's 70% of those on the spectrum who are in America that do not have jobs. One, because they cannot either keep it and they get fired for certain reasons, or two, it overwhelms them. What we need in the workplace is not special treatment, but accommodations. You give your workers accommodations, and that's what we want, but not special treatment. And there's a line with that, and you got to find that balance. An accommodation would be, okay, someone's deaf, you have an interpreter while someone's speaking to you.
Yeah.
Special treatment is you give them more time off versus the other person.
Yeah.
And accommodation for the autism spectrum for myself would be maybe, okay, I'm overwhelmed right now. I'm having a real anxiety attack. Give me like a 5-minute break where I can just decompress. Not a break, not like a 25-minute break time, an extra break, but it's like a few seconds or a few minutes just to whew.
I think, and I actually like the fact that you gave a practical indication of what you want, because a lot of the times is you'd want to see change, but you wouldn't actually have a practical way of implementing it. So like you said, maybe for a person on the spectrum to have more time to think, more time to relay their ideas to the board, or depending on what type of work you get into. Those are things I think definitely would make sense to see moving forward. And I don't know, I was actually going to extend this question to you. Have you seen a change in society's accommodation of those on the spectrum? Or would you say it hasn't changed at all and there's maybe a stagnation? How do you see it?
Well, let's put it this way. I always say this when I get asked that. We're aware of it. And that's and I'm not saying that is not a step. Like, I applaud that, because we went from being institutionalized in the 1950s to now being like, okay, we can put them out there and they can try to function. And now they're not in a cage or whatever. But we're not accepting. We know it's here, but we're choosing to ignore the problem. Okay, that ignoring needs to go away.
Okay. No, and just to coming to sum it up, I was going to ask, what was your message of encouragement to people in a similar situation to yourself, and not just people on the spectrum, because there are a whole host of other issues that people deal with. For instance, mental health issues like depression. It could be being mentally handicapped as well. Would you have any words of encouragement for people who maybe, in terms of, they don't fit into the typical normal society, if you want to put it in quotation marks, whatever normal society is? Would you have any?
Don't look at a person on the outside, but look on their inside. I mean, I know I have a friend who is in a wheelchair. I mean, he is full on spina bifida. They look at him and they think he's not successful. He's not going to get married, yada, yada, yada. Okay? That's BS. There's a chance he will. There's a 100%. Chance. And let me ask you, have you talked to the guy? No. So you don't know. Or I had a guest recently. This is probably one of my favorite episodes. Go back on a question you asked earlier. Another one of my favorites was Tommy Stevens from, I don't know if Hell's Kitchen exists in America, but that was where he was from in like season 9. And from the looks of him, I like the guy, but you wouldn't think he's successful because the guy's covered in tattoos. And you look at that, and in America, at least, people with tattoos all over their body
stigmatized.
They're like, okay, should we be around him? He might be a gang or whatever. Well, do you know? Try again. You're wrong. You don't know that. Look at him again. Go talk to him.
And I think that's actually what's kind of unique about podcasting, and you can probably attest to that, is you get to have a genuine conversation with people without having any judgments. Everyone's given an equal opportunity to kind of just be who they are and speak without, having to worry, or, you know what I mean? It's an openness that's important, right? And so
we all have different personality traits, and we all have different interests. Some are very similar, some are very different. I mean, my mother and I have the same humor, but my father and I have the same taste of music. So
yeah, it's varied like that. And I was just the last question was just moving forward, what you're looking to do next. I mean, we're living in a weird time. I think you can agree with that. The world is an interesting place right now. So what are you wanting to get going? What do you want to do? What plans? I mean, not in the long term, but just what's motivating you to, what's the next thing you want to kind of get going or doing? Yeah.
Well, I mean, I can share you tomorrow. We're hosted in Indiana at the Bluebird at kind of like Bloomington. It's like 20 minutes from here. We're having a winter concert with the Hair Bangers Ball. They're very popular in the Midwest.
All right.
So if your listeners in the North American Midwest area, you get any of those, there's something for you. However, the long-term goal is to get a job involving the podcasting realm or reporting realm, journalism realm. I'm going to Ivy Tech for General Studies.
Wow.
However, I plan to transfer to Vincennes, Indiana, and Vincennes University for either a media degree or an entrepreneurship degree, but it's highly looking at media.
Well, and again, wow, that's really, really incredible stuff, Sam. And you are an incredible individual. I'm not saying that to be funny or anything, but really the things that you've done, especially I'm based in South Africa, and I don't know if autism has the necessary attention and awareness that it does. So I'm hoping this podcast actually will be inspiration to those, because like you said, you live in the US, which is much more modernized than the rest of the world, right? So it's also just getting that awareness into maybe third world countries and getting them the necessary facilities.
And here's an example right there. I'm not trying to bash France. I mean, I've never been to France, and what I've heard, France is great. Yeah. But what I've heard is if you have a developmental disability in France, you're cursed.
Yeah, no, and obviously that's not that's just how society works. People are still quite ignorant. But yeah, no, I mean, Sam, thank you so much for hopping on. Apologies again for being a couple minutes late. We didn't intend to do that, but it's life. And I hope that you've also enjoyed your experience here. I would actually like to have you on at some point again, maybe in the near future, when your schedule permits you. And yeah, I mean, for those of you, if you want to follow Sam on his social media account, you can follow him on Instagram. It's called Autism Rocks and Rolls Pod. So again, it's Autism Rocks and Rolls Pod, and you can find him on Instagram. And I'm sure there are links there so that you can contact him, or at least tune into his podcast and see his content as well. So Sam, really wanted to say thank you. And it's been good having you, man. Thank you.